Today, the world population has reached 8 billion people. Of the countries that make up this population, the largest are China with 1.5 billion inhabitants and India with a similar 1.4 billion inhabitants. Both countries are located in Asia, and it is precisely in these countries that you will find the world's cheapest paid workers. One of them is precisely the city of Mumbai in India. This is truly the peak of cheap labor and contains India's largest industrial load. It is also home to Dharavi, the largest slum in the world. Although the population of Mumbai differs in various sources, it is estimated to have reached 26 million as of today. For this reason, according to some sources, Mumbai is the most populous city in the world after Tokyo. It is located in the west of India, and although it looks like a peninsula, it is actually located on the island of Salsette. The west and south of the city face the Arabian Sea, while the north and east are separated from the mainland by a thin river line. In the 16th century, the Portuguese who came to the region named it Bom Bahia, which means good Gulf, and over time the name of the city changed to Bombay. Afterwards, the city was named Mumbai, inspired by the Indian goddess Mumba. Today, many local people still refer to their city as Bombay. People from India work in this city for a monthly salary of only $100 to $200. Begging or not working is considered shameful in the city, so people work over 10 hours a day, though very cheaply. More than 25 million people work like ants, so to speak, in this city of 603 square kilometers. They even call Mumbai the Ant Hill. If you're going to Mumbai in India, either to live or for a tourist trip, you need to be away from aesthetic concerns and keep your expectations low. The main reason for the large influx of migrants from all over India is for work and education-oriented purposes. Some go there to find a job, some move to Mumbai because it is the center of the Bollywood film industry in India. Some people go to this city to study at university. People who have no purpose to work do not migrate to Mumbai for no reason. This is because Mumbai has high enough rents not to consider migrating for no reason. Many locals talk about the high cost of rent in Mumbai. Houses are cramped and have narrow rooms, but monthly rents are often over $500. As you can see, the prices of livable apartments are extremely high and seem to compete with European house rents. If you want to live in a normal apartment and not in a slum, you need to have a budget of $500 to $1,000. Such high rents also prove that Mumbai is the economic capital of India. Since Mumbai attracts a lot of people, almost everything in the city is expensive. Of course, chaos is inevitable when there are a lot of people in a place. Mumbai's high level of immigration has created a polluted and dirty environment in the city. At the same time, excessive migration has led to the appearance of businesses operating in uncontrolled and unhygienic conditions. As if that were not enough, the city is exposed to high humidity throughout the year, and people from a cold climate will probably not be able to adapt to Mumbai's climate. For example, some local people work during the day wearing only undershirts, while the rest of the population wears t-shirts and short pants all year round. Now that we have given some general information about Mumbai, let's make some observations to support this information. Let's evaluate what life is like for a day in Mumbai, India, through the people we filmed there. Here we go. This is one of the most crowded bazaars in the city. It is only 10 in the morning, and the people of Mumbai have already started their day. People have opened their shops and are carefully making something for breakfast. This old bearded man and the young people around him, for example, are making the typical Indian flatbread. They do it in a hot plate stove. Being unfamiliar with this culture, I am immediately interested in how the bread makers look and what kind of atmosphere they work in. The young man is rolling out dough in a white undershirt. The color of the undershirt looks a little faded. Inside the bakery, customers are having breakfast with these breads. Unfortunately, the place doesn't look very hygienic. When we take our attention away and walk a little bit, we see a lot of white sacks and faded colored items around. Wherever you turn your head, you will see sacks and ruined shops in shades of gray and brown. In the bazaar, shops and shanties are intertwined and quite cramped. You think you're walking in a bazaar, but suddenly you may come across a shanty with laundry hanging on a line. Also, since the population is overcrowded, too many shops and slums have been built per square meter. This has led to the narrowing of the city streets as much as possible. In some streets, it is even difficult for two people to pass side by side, while the number of cracks in the walls is also very high. When you look at the faces of the people on the side streets, you realize that there is a considerable young population in the city. There are plenty of people under 40 years of age roaming the narrow streets of Mumbai. Young people mostly have light beards, while among the elderly, Muslims are mostly bearded. I don't know how the tax system works here, but in an alley, we come across a traveling barber. This young barber doesn't have a shop with 4 walls and has set up a barber shop in the middle of the street. I guess he keeps the prices affordable compared to normal barber shops because he even has customers waiting in line. This young friend and his client allow us to film them up close. If you want to get your hair and beard cut in a shop in the city, you can easily spend 800 rupees. But in shabby mobile barbershops like this one, you can get a hair and beard shave for 500 rupees. 500 rupees is only $5. For example, in another location, this man owns a shop and practices his profession as a barber in the shop. He pays a rent for the shop and pays taxes. Because of such expenses, he shaves his hair more expensive. While getting service in the alleys, keep in mind that the oxygen rate is extremely low. For this reason, those with fresh air problems should visit larger and more comfortable shops. When we walk through the streets, we smell heavy metal odors, animal odors, and garbage. You might be walking around and come across a goat that is dying of weakness, or someone else might bump into you from behind with a huge sack. Maybe it was a mistake to start the video from the narrow streets. That's why we are moving toward the main streets. The first thing I experience when we get on the main street is, of course, a lot of honking. According to a local news website in India, the total number of vehicles on the road in Mumbai in 2024 will exceed 48 lakh. That's 4,800,000. This is indeed an incredibly high number of vehicles for a city. The news website reports that about 2,900,000 of this total number of vehicles are two-wheelers. The same news site reports that there are 2,300 motorized vehicles per kilometer in the city. This makes it inevitable that there are so many honking horns in Mumbai, and yet when people see a big camera in your hand, they smile at you and want to talk to you. The people of Mumbai seem to have adapted to the chaos of the city and accepted the conditions there. But some children may not yet have accepted the normality of the city they live in. At least that's what the disappointment on their faces says. There is a garbage problem on narrow side streets as well as on wide roads. Mumbai's garbage containers are already overflowing at midday. Either the municipal workers don't clean the garbage containers every night, or the human waste in the city requires more garbage containers. Here, for example, they call it the garbage river. This place lives up to its name, spreading plenty of bacteria in the humid heat of Mumbai. It is extremely difficult to clean this place in a short period of time, and no work is being carried out to clean the river. The garbage from the surrounding slums is dumped in this river, and some people also use it for their toilet needs. These two people, who live right next to the river, are desperately watching the river. They are probably married and desperate. The river smells terribly of garbage and sewage, and they live in shanties right at the bottom of the river. There is no sewage system there, so they probably have to live smelling their own human waste all day long. The slums further inland from the river are characterized by massive cable pollution. I think this cable pollution exists in almost every country in South Asia, because you will see similar scenes in countries like Bangladesh, Pakistan, and Nepal. Electricity and telecommunication cables run just above your head. Since the urbanization in Mumbai is one of the most irregular and unplanned urbanizations you will ever see, there is no system of digging poles for electricity cables. Everything in the city is in shades of gray, with a faded and discolored landscape. Walking around Mumbai is really depressing, and if you go there from Western countries, it can reduce your motivation to live. If you look at the people in the city, there is a general desperation, a general exhaustion. While some people seem to be vigorous, others seem to be overwhelmed by the heat, environmental pollution, and poor quality of life. For example, according to research conducted last year, the 10 most polluted cities in the world were identified, and Mumbai is the 6th most polluted city in the world. Mumbai has an air pollution index of 163, and any value above 150 is considered unhealthy to live in. Similarly, in a study conducted by CNN, India was ranked as the 3rd country with the worst air in the world. The top 2 most polluted countries are Pakistan and Bangladesh, which are right next to India. I think South Asian countries need serious population planning, because while high population has a positive impact on production, it has a direct negative impact on environmentalism and chaos. This makes those countries unlivable today and reduces the welfare of the people. For example, if you observe the streets in Mumbai, you will see that in many areas there is no asphalt, and where there is asphalt, it is very old. Vehicles and traffic pass through these unpaved roads, creating dust pollution. This dust gets into people's lungs and is filling Mumbai's hospitals with bronchitis and lung patients. The number of children between the ages of 5 and 10 is also very high in the city. In a study conducted in 2022, it was estimated that the number of children in Mumbai was increasing by 133,000 annually, and the total number of children was around 2 million. It's some 100,000 of the city's children live on the streets, while 35,000 are employed as child laborers. Children are everywhere in the city, and they move in crowds. Even though they may smile at you when they see a camera, I recommend that you protect your valuables well, because in Mumbai you may be subjected to pickpocketing by children. Since they know the alleys very well, they can disappear in seconds. At noon, the smells of food intensify on the streets of Mumbai. As you know, India is famous for its street food, and however, their reputation is not just because their food is so delicious. They have become known mostly because of the differences in the way they cook and the unhygienic appearance of their environments. So let's give you a few examples. For example, this man in a green undershirt is mixing a huge pot of food with a plastic bowl, which is potentially carcinogenic. Another one has his food on trays and is waiting for customers at a spot where a lot of motorcycles pass by. Probably the exhaust from motorcycles is already mixed into these dishes. These fishermen could be the source of the fishy smell that fills the whole street. This man sells raw fish with his children, and the place where the fish is sold looks dirty, and the crates in which he puts the fish in the water look extremely dirty. Similarly, the stalls next to them sell different types of fish. Normal butcher shops are no different from the fish sellers on the streets. The red meats are hung from the ceiling and sold in the open air in contact with the outside. While this meat should normally be kept in cold storage, Indian shopkeepers seem to be saving money on electricity. Not only does the meat get bacteria in the open air, but they also slaughter the meat on wooden counters. The biggest problem here is that in Mumbai, anyone can set up a counter wherever they want. Environmental regulation is almost non-existent, and inspections seem to be very weak. For this reason, a marketplace has not been created, and everyone moves randomly and disorganized. Indian people use a lot of eggs in their street food. Almost every street food they make starts with eggs, spicy sauces, and hot oil. The food this boy is selling is also an example of this. For example, this man is inspired by doner kebab from Turkey or the Middle East and sells it in his own geography. He sauced the chicken breasts to suit the Indian palate and turned them into doner kebabs. He makes doner kebab not in an indoor area, but in an area where a lot of people pass by. This is a bread bakery. At least the work done here seems a bit more hygienic. Made in a closed 4 walls, these breads are kneaded in counters, then thrown into the fire and then packaged. The staff are excited to see a camera and welcome us with a smile. In fact, this must be the most positive aspect of the Indian people. There may be many shortcomings in terms of hygiene and environmental conditions, but people welcome and host you warmly under all circumstances. After leaving the bakery, we go to a biscuit factory. Packing biscuits with his bare hands, this employee does not forget to play with his phone. In another shop, these two employees are sorting trays of biscuits with their bare hands. And this old man, I think he must be working as a single person, because he looks very sweaty and tired even though he is working in a singlet. Both the clothes on his body and the condition of the shop are the most natural picture of an ordinary street food vendor in India. If that's not enough of an example for you, just look at the counter full of pots and pans. Flies are flying around and food has just been made there and sold to customers. In the back of a food shop, two men, one in a singlet and the other shirtless, are putting the leftover food from the cauldrons into plastic bags with their bare hands. They sell this food at a cheaper price than usual to people who want to take food home for dinner. The man in the shirt is their boss and eats their dinner. You are inevitably going to come across street food scenes like this in Mumbai and all over India, because the concept of hygiene is not important in street food culture in India. They are more interested in how satisfying and delicious the food is. In the West, such hygiene deficiencies may be unacceptable, but in Asia, such scenes are commonplace in natural living conditions. Never expect decoration and art design in the shops. The decoration of the shops is not designed according to the food sold. Almost every shop is made up of poor quality brick buildings with peeling or faded paint. The shops are usually two-storied or one-storied and longitudinally wide. While food is sold in the foreground, there is constant manufacturing in the background. It is up to you whether you want to eat the food from these factories or not. On the other hand, Mumbai's population problems have a negative impact on transportation. For example, let's take a look at a train station in the city from above. As you can see, there is a lot of garbage right next to the train rails, and when you go down and walk on the rails, it becomes really clear that these people are living very hard lives. People have built shanties next to the train station and live in these ruins. This man in a shirt with a phone in his hand lives in a garbage dump. Buildings and garbage are mixed together, and there is a lot of dust. Here is a closer view of those garbage-filled slums. The slum residents can't afford a curtain, so they try to protect themselves from the sun by pulling blue tarps over their windows. But there are others living in worse conditions than them. For example, every 100 meters around that train station, you will see a homeless person lying on the ground, like this old man, or like these young men. Some families sleeping on the street have built shacks out of blue tarps and wood. The wind is blowing around, and this shack will be destroyed by a strong gust of wind. Back in the bustle of the city, we are interested in another issue. There are almost no women in the city, my friends. Almost 8 out of 10 people you see on the streets and avenues are men. The city seems to be dominated by men. Of course, women come in front of you occasionally, but almost all of them are wearing a black burqa. In Mumbai, there is no way you can communicate and talk to women in black burqas. Although this is a South Asian country, the way women dress is similar to countries in the Middle East. Women do not make eye contact with you in any way, and they walk away when they see you. Women in Mumbai are closed to the outside world and do not take an active role in society. Women take care of the household and raise children. Women are seen as unconfident and backward in this society. Some news websites even report that there is gender inequality in India and that women are subjected to child marriage. Let's leave this aside and observe a few workers in industrial factories in Mumbai. The main activities of the manufacturing sector in the city are related to textile and metal parts production. For example, these naked men are lined up side by side, tailoring colorful women's clothes. Inside, the machines run very loudly, and the workers do not even wear undershirts and work half naked because of the heat the machines spread throughout the factory. Workers may need to wash their bodies in the toilets during working hours to avoid smelling, so they cool off and go back to work. People really work like ants, and no one is idle. However, just as hygiene is poor in street food, occupational safety is also poor in industrial factories. For example, a machine part is manufactured here and sparks fly everywhere. But neither of the two workers is wearing a goggle. They were probably not given goggles to protect their eyes. According to a study, 3 workers die every day in India due to work accidents. But because it is easy to find workers due to the country's dense population, Indian workers are willing to work in inappropriate conditions. In Mumbai, India, workers in the factories you see here earn less than $300 a month. In Mumbai, even the monthly salary of the most senior craftsman does not amount to $500. Workers earn hourly wages and their monthly incomes are well below world standards. If they choose to leave, it takes less than a day to find a replacement. Today, big Western companies prefer to open their factories in Bangladesh and India rather than in China, because in South Asia, especially in Bangladesh, they can find workers even for $100 a month. That is why the people you see in these workshops actually manufacture many of the products you use with their own hand craftsmanship. In particular, the production factories of Spanish and Italian clothing brands are largely located in countries like Mumbai, India. But most of the time you only look at the brand name of the product you buy and never read where it was produced on the label. By evening, people in Mumbai are on their way home. Those whose homes are on the other side of the city often use train stations for transportation. Although the train system has improved in the city, it is still crowded at all times of the day. On a commute in Mumbai, most of the time you won't find an empty seat on the trains and you will be traveling standing up. Look at the people on the train, for example. The train is moving fast, but people are lined up in front of the doors as if they're going to jump out of the train. They only hold on to a small support with one hand, and other than that, they have no safety. Would you like to see inside this crowded train? That's exactly how it is. Finding a seat on the train is a dream, and even breathing is difficult. You can see how close people are, men and women mixed together. You have no place to put your foot one step forward or one step back. These overcrowded trains are also a breeding ground for robbery and harassment. In India, people never put wallets or phones in their back pockets. They always put their valuables in front of them, because it will be very difficult to understand whose hand is in your pocket in that jam. I am sorry to say, my friends, that Indians almost never use deodorant. If you are in a closed and crowded area, you will smell sweat. This is also inevitable on public transportation trains, and you have to breathe in unpleasant odors. Similarly, if you are a female tourist on public transportation, you may be subjected to unwanted sexual and physical contact. India has become notorious for sexual harassment cases in recent years. For example, this South American couple were victimized in India last year. The people of India, especially those who are very interested in tourists, are essentially very optimistic, but some of them can be malicious. Perhaps the most beautiful and positive feature of the city is that life never stops. If you are a lively person who likes to mix with people, you can see that even at the dark of night, the shops are open and people are still walking the streets. Even in the evenings, you'll see food shops open, as the place is full of people. A person who wants to make an environment there can find plenty of friends. Those who will be engaged in trade can create a business network and realize sales according to their needs. In this video, we have tried to show you how the slums in Mumbai look like and how the business areas in the immediate vicinity of these neighborhoods look like. Mumbai has many shortcomings in terms of being a livable city, but it is a strategic place that produces for the world and will continue to do so in the future. This is why it will always be important both for India and for large global companies looking for cheap labor. Goodbye and see you in the next video.